Happy Saturday. Welcome. I'm so glad that you came back. Today, we're going to continue my Nurse Practitioner Diary Series. I'm going to catch you up on an interview where I was interviewed yesterday, where I conducted an interview. So the first one, we talked about leadership. That's where I was the guest. And then I was the host for the Melanin Initiative podcast, where I talked to the founder and chief cosmetic chemist at Nuekie, Eunice Cofie-Obeng, and her upcoming inaugural Nuekie Beauty Durbar, which is going to be in Hampton, Virginia. So we'll talk all about that. I talk about my submission for Nurse.org's Season 2 Nurse Converse podcast, some changes that have come to Canva, quick little social media tip, and then we'll talk a little bit more about podcasting and some ideas I have based on an episode that I watched by Earn Your Leisure, an update for the DMV Dermatology MPPA group. We have finally selected a date for our in-person meeting this month. And how my book is coming along. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Dr. Kimberly Madison, a doctorally prepared nurse practitioner, and I use social media to share my journey. One, as a way to offer just like a blueprint for other nurses or aspiring nurses. And yeah, just to present my life as a case study, pretty much. I love teaching, and one of the best ways that I can think to do that is to just share my journey. I come on pretty much every weekend live. The time varies. I do want to pick a time that I'm consistent and try to give you a heads up about when to join me so you can come on here live and have, what do you call it? Office hours. That's what I really, really want to do. And then, but mostly I come on Saturday live. So most of my videos are under the live tab. It's my number one recommendation to avoid social media burnout and to be the most consistent with producing content is to just go live, because the editing will definitely slow you down. So my content is for students, aspiring nurses, aspiring clinicians, practicing nurses, seasoned nurses who are interested in entering the field, advancing their education, entering entrepreneurship, and having community. That's what we're doing here. So I just wrapped an interview, another interview, and I figured, you know what? I have everything set up. Let's just do this. And so sometimes my videos are long, which I enjoy as a viewer. But today I'm just gonna get to the point because I have a lot of work to do this weekend. So the first thing, let's talk about the DMV Dermatology MPPA group. If you're new here, that's a private member only Facebook page that was inspired by my friend, Dr. Patrice, out in Colorado Springs, also a member of DMPs of Color, as well as my experience on attending the Sunrise Dermatology Conference in Florida that's run by Dr. Patricia Delgado. So both of those experiences inspired me to start the DMV Dermatology MPPA group, which is for aspiring and practicing nurse practitioners and physician associates living and practicing in DC, Maryland, or Virginia. That's what DMV stands for. So right now, we really don't even have a large membership, but through my network and connections in dermatology, we've had so much support and people being willing to help us grow the group that we're planning our first in-person event. So the members have voted, and the date is going to be Thursday, June 27th at 7 p.m. I have selected the restaurant. They'll be the first to know about that. The link for joining is in the description box. You do have to meet the criteria. We will verify your medical license, and then we'll let you in the group. Sometimes I have questions because we have a lot of students that want to enter. So sometimes I have questions. So I send those to you directly just to get more clarification. And the whole idea behind just the medical license verification is just to try to maintain some integrity in the group. It is the internet, and not everyone has good intentions. That's just something I've learned from the other groups that I'm a part of. And so we're just taking their example. But yeah, so that's the first one. The first two are really designed to kind of get like a core group together, decide like the direction of the group and what we want to do, how we want to maximize our numbers, kind of leverage that network. And so yeah, we already have invitations like for people who want to come do like the next 3. So once this one gets settled, finalized, then we'll put up the vote for the next one. I would love to do one next month, just just to kind of capitalize on the momentum, but it's also the summer, and so I really don't want to compete with vacations. So I'm thinking maybe August, definitely September will be one. I'm just not sure if I want the next one to be July or August, but probably August. So stay tuned and I will keep you updated on that. The best way to stay tuned is to subscribe. So be notified every time I go live and post a new video. And you can also follow over on the blog, the Mahogany Dermatology blog, so you can be updated that way. So that was the DMV group. Canva is so I talk about social media all the time because as I'm learning it, because in the journey of entrepreneurship, you learn a lot about marketing. When you learn about marketing, they tell you that you need to have a social media presence, right? Personal brand as well as your business. And in doing so, while everyone's on social media, you don't know what to do or how to do it. And so sometimes, I just share so that you can learn because there's a lot to learn, but you can get burnt out really quickly, and it is a lot to manage. And so I try to break it down, make it really simple. Some people get intimidated by social media and tech and all these different things, but they have so many great tools out here that make it easy, like that are designed for content creation. And Canva is one of those platforms. So it's a free platform. You can do a million things with all the free tools, but they also have the pro version, which you have to pay for, which I do. And so they recently had a webinar talking about their new features. I haven't watched it yet. I did get my VA to watch it. If you didn't watch the last episode, I did hire a virtual assistant, so she's my first team member, and she attended it. I'm going to watch it, but I did see like a few snippets, and so there is a new feature on there that the admin can add. So you go to the homepage of Canva, and there's like a little icon that says "For You." You click that 7 times, and then the new features will appear. And there's a lot of really great things on there, and a lot of new pro features. Probably to push the pro subscription, but one thing that I love that I've seen, there's the highlight. So let's say you upload a video, maybe it's like a minute or 2 long. You can hit the highlight feature and it will automatically create like a little reel from that highlight. And then also, oh, the trim. There's one that will trim kind of like the end and the beginning of the video, that usually you have to trim manually. So those are just a couple of the ones that I've seen so far. Oh, and then there's a section you can go over to the menu to apps. You put in mockup, and then there's a thing for like videos. They have these really cool features now that you can play around with, that you'll likely see on in some of the things that I create, especially this upcoming week. So yeah, that's my little social media tip for today. And oh, I did want to mention a podcast episode that I watched because it was really good and it gave me an idea on what I want to do for the podcast. So we are going to be starting a Patreon page. Patreon. And so if you're not familiar with Patreon, it's a website, and typically people use it to offer like more access to them, whether it's their knowledge or like actual contact interaction. And so what we're going to, and so like for instance, sometimes people will say, oh, if pay $5 a month, you'll be the first to get notified of new videos. With the first 24 hours, you'll get notified. If you pay $10 a month, you get access to 2 videos, and one of those videos won't even go out to the public. It'll just go out to paid Patreon subscribers. If you pay $15 a month, you get access to all the videos 24 hours in advance. You get the only subscriber videos, and we'll send you a t-shirt. So they come up with different things that your money will get you. Sometimes it's to help support the show, to help support lighting and equipment and things like that. For us, what we're going to be doing is we want to collect enough funding to purchase 25 blood pressure monitors because we want to go out into the schools and teach the students and the faculty the importance of primary care. This is through the podcast, the Melanin Initiative podcast. And then teach them how to accurately measure blood pressure and then what to do with the numbers when they see it. And so when I went to the DC Black Pride event last week, one of my friends I just casually mentioned it to her because she had like some leftover materials. And so I took that and she was like, yeah, when you get ready to do this event with the students, let us know. We'll come and set up a table and bring, other literature and things like that. Because what they were doing at the event was actually measuring blood pressures. And so it was perfect. And yeah, I'm just so grateful for that kind of support. And so we actually received our first donation today, and just so excited to go into the community and yeah, just increase awareness about literacy. Sorry about that. And yeah, maybe save some lives and inspire students to enter healthcare. So the podcast episode. So speaking of this whole idea, it comes from Earn Your Leisure, which are two guys who have a financial literacy like media empire. And so they're the blueprint for what I do with the show. And one thing they used to do was go to schools and teach financial literacy to the students. And so I want to do the same thing here or in the community, whatever community that we're a part of, and teach them about health literacy. Because as we all know, we don't learn about health literacy in school. We tell people not to trust Dr. Google. And in most visits, we don't have, in the conventional healthcare setting, we typically don't have time in your 15, 20-minute visit to really get into the details and explain things in a way that people understand and so that they feel empowered and educated to navigate the system and manage their own health. And so that's the whole motivation behind the show. It started off with me taking care of a gentleman who couldn't explain blood pressure, but was about to start dialysis. And I just thought if he had known the relationship between these two things, maybe we wouldn't meet and maybe he wouldn't be going down this path. And so it only makes sense that when we go into the community that we talk about blood pressure. And I prefer the term high blood pressure over hypertension. I'm on a mission because I just think the word hypertension can be a little bit confusing. Oh, I hope you have heard me. I just realized my mic is plugged in from when I was doing the interview. We'll have to see. Let me unplug this. I just realized it. So sorry about that. It's live, so I can't even edit it. So hopefully you've heard me this whole time and I haven't been banging it too much. So yeah, that's the podcast. Oh, so yeah, so today I was watching one of their videos called "They Built $1 Million Podcast Empire Without Speaking: The Business of Serving Creators." That's Earn Your Leisure, and I'll put them down in the description box. And they talked about the Patreon, and so yeah, it just gave me a lot of ideas about what we could do with our Patreon. And they had difference of opinion on whether you should start one like early in your podcast career or later. And yeah, just trends in podcasting and the people who are doing it now. So if you're into it and you're interested, I highly recommend that episode. And as I continue to figure out what we want to do next, I'll come here and share and update you. Let's see. So then yesterday I was interviewed. So again, the podcast we have. So actually, so we have right now, we have announced 3 series called Becoming. So with the podcast, we do 2 things. We promote health literacy, right? Try to give people the language and the confidence to ask questions and to manage their health. But we also promote the profession of nursing and the industry of healthcare, right? Those are 2 separate things. And so we have our health literacy series and our professional series. And one of the professional series that we have are these becoming episodes, because a lot of times what happens is once we decide, okay, I'm going to pursue nursing, I'm going to pursue medicine, you get so bogged down with learning like what you need to do to get in, to stay in, to maintain your licensure and certifications, and taking care of patients, doing the job itself. You don't really have time to learn about other people's paths. And so oftentimes we work side by side, but still don't know what it took for them to get here. And we know this is true because there's so many questions when it comes to nursing education and training, especially the further we go. So when we start talking about graduate education, there's a lot of questions amongst the public about what's the difference between a nurse practitioner, a physician associate, a doctor. And sometimes people feel that all the titles are really confusing to patients. And there's a lot of things in healthcare that are confusing to patients. And so what we do, especially in nursing, is we just break things down and explain it so people understand. And so through these Becoming series, that's exactly what we're doing. We're taking some people, we're following them throughout their journey so we can learn a little bit at a time as they go throughout that journey. Because a lot of times people, when you ask people why they want to do this, they say they want to because they want to take care of people, because they want to make a difference, because they care. But oftentimes, once we get in, I think a lot like politics, right? People have these really good ideas and intentions, and then once you get in, things kind of shift and change. Even if they don't change and shift within you, the perception that the public has might shift and change. And so, a lot of people think we're only in it for the money, or there's a lot of things, a lot of reasons that people think that people are in healthcare. And so it's my dream that if we follow people's journey, we'll be able to bring a little bit more humanity to healthcare. We'll learn more about the education and training about what that looks like and how they're different. And so, yeah, we have Clarence Sims, who is a med student right now, and we're following his journey to becoming a physician. We have Demetrius Kirk, who was a graduate student pursuing his Doctor of Nursing Practice degree out in Hawaii by way of Detroit. And then we have Charity Bean, who is teaching us all about becoming a midwife. And I love her path because she's actually not a nurse. And so that's one thing I want to really bring attention to, is all the ways to get into healthcare, all the ways to get into healthcare, but also all the different ways to provide patient care that might not be nursing or a physician, but where you can be really impactful. And so those are the 3 that have been announced. And I just wrapped another 73 question series with a young lady who is transitioning she started off as a CNA, then she was an LPN. She just graduated, and she'll be starting her first job in the ICU as a registered nurse this week. And so listening to her answer all her 73 questions, like I invited her to, I asked her if she would let us follow her journey in another new Becoming series. I haven't figured out the title yet. I'm still working on that one, but I just think it's going to be so interesting to follow her as as she transitions in her career, her clinical career. But also she's already thinking about graduate school. And so I just want to follow that journey, like see how her clinical experiences shape her perspective on healthcare as a whole, nursing and specifically, and also what she ends up doing in terms of pursuing her education. And so the idea is that it will be kind of like live mentoring that we'll be able to offer her. And so we'll also be able to demonstrate what that relationship looks like. I'm really big into mentorship. That's why I created the Your Nurse Mentorship Match ebook in the virtual preceptor shop. That link is below. And that is just a 30-page guide to help you find a mentor that's perfectly matched for you. Be able to answer the question, who are you? Be able to answer, what is nursing? What is healthcare? Help you get a clear understanding of what it is you think you want to do. Because at this point in my career, I realized that I don't think I knew exactly what I was agreeing to. And so I just want to be able to offer that clarity, whether you're a student, already practicing, and you're just thinking about next steps and you're looking for that guidance to get there. And so these questions can be used for personal statements, scholarships, interviews, finding a mentor, finding a preceptor. They can be repurposed. They guide you through that mentorship relationship, remind you to check in and reevaluate if that relationship is even right for you. So yeah, all about mentorship over here, talk about it all the time. And so many of our guests that have come on the podcast have brought it up too. And it's been really good to hear how other people describe it and how what they feel the benefits are. So hopefully you're checking that out and seeing that, because I think there's just not enough mentorship in nursing, especially when we look at our physician colleagues. And I feel like it's part of their culture, and it's just hasn't really become part of our culture as much as it could or should be, so that we're not working in silos or suffering in silence. There's 5 million of us, and there's no reason for that to happen. So, yeah, we're really excited to share that relationship. And mentorship is not like, we or I know all the answers. We're still all learning and growing at the same time. And so eager to just kind of share what that looks like, with the public. So I was interviewed yesterday by Demetrius for his podcast called Sound Leadership. With SMK Medical, we talked about leadership. And one of the things we talked about, which is perfect, which goes with this interview that I just had, was like all the opportunities in healthcare, all the different ways you can get in healthcare. And so, I came on here to share my journey to becoming a dermatology nurse practitioner. And it's so funny because in school, just like when we're kids, we see actors and actresses as well as athletes. And so many of us want to do that growing up because that's what we see. And the same thing is true in nursing. We see we see the clinician and we see the teacher, and so, yeah, most of us just think those are the only paths, right? So when you hear people who want to pursue leadership or who want to get into tech, they're kind of the outliers, right? And that's all because of what we're exposed to. And that's just the clinical setting and training, right? And so much of the time we just don't tell students enough that that's just a small view of what is possible, and that nursing school isn't teaching you everything you need to know or exposing you to everything that is available to you. And so me and Demetrius had a really wonderful conversation about the different ways that we make money outside of providing direct patient care. And so I'm excited for that interview. I don't know when it will post. But even with me and my journey to becoming a dermatology nurse practitioner, apply for that first job, look at those requirements. You see that they really prefer that you have 2 to 3, sometimes 5 years of experience. And so if you're a fresh NP for your first job, you don't have the provider experience, you don't have the derm experience, and you're not going to have it for at least 2 years. And so, and then the next step is you start looking for education and training, right? Just like me, you go to Google, you start looking things up. Exact same thing I did. And in doing that, started working with diversity in dermatology, started going to conference and networking, continuing to learn, continuing to study, reading the latest research. And now the network is expanding and I'm learning all these other opportunities in the field, right? And so the clinician is just one person. There's so many different ways that you can practice and be in dermatology if you love it like I do. And so for me, that love has really centered on medical education and publication, right? And so I just love the space that I'm in. I love what I'm able to do, the time that I'm able to have and devote to learning about the latest research, learning about the opportunities for NPs and nurses to get access to dermatology education and training, and to just elevate our presence, because in a lot of ways we're catching up, because of course dermatologists have been there. And then PAs have also been, in my opinion, they outpace us when it comes to getting those jobs, because not all programs, but a lot of them offer that rotation in derm. So they have that. And then because a lot of physicians and PAs go to school together, they've been in the same classroom, and we all gravitate towards things that we're very familiar with. So when I'm looking to hire someone, I'm going to hire someone that I'm really familiar with their education and training, which I know really well, unlike the nurse who I don't know really well. I only interacted with them a little bit in med school to ask questions, a little bit in residency when we're going over patients, more than others, depending on the unit that you work on. But even then, the role of the nurse in that setting doesn't really depict the full capacity of that nurse. And so when I'm looking to hire that NP, I'm not really sure of their qualifications, and the time that it takes to learn that I might not have available. And so I might tend to hire the PA over the NP. That's just been my personal experience while things are changing. That's just the theme I noticed. And so for me, yeah, I just love the education and training. And so when you do entrepreneurship, you start doing all this coaching and stuff like that, everyone's going to point you to just do what you're already doing. Don't go reinvent the wheel. We learn the same thing when we're in DNP school. They're like, don't reinvent the wheel when you're trying to come up with a project. Think about what you're already doing and do that like tenfold. And so someone like me who's really creative, who has ideas running all the time in my head, you can get attracted to so many things, right? Everything sounds and looks wonderful. And you have to really be really disciplined to just focus on one thing. And the other day I saw someone say something about multifaceted people. So I definitely fall into that category, right? You look at my profile, you're going to see I talk about more than one thing. But the advice is always to narrow down. And so in this journey to becoming a dermatology nurse practitioner, I also transitioned from the bedside. I also had to get this job. I also had to do the credentialing, the privileges, the new place, the new car, the orientation. Like it was a lot. And then just a learning curve, right? So what I thought the journey was going to, and even the entrepreneurship is taking longer to get there. But really, in all honesty, it hasn't really been that long. But in your head, you feel that way. But because of the time it's taken, it's been a blessing because it's helped me refine that idea, particularly because I do kind of like get attracted to so many things. The time has helped me continue to go back to that first thing, which I said, what would you do if you could do anything for free? And it would be right. And so even though I get attracted to this and I run over there for a while and I run over here for a while and I do that, I keep coming back to the writing. And so that's where I'm landing at the moment. And that's where you're going to find me. And so that was a question he had asked me during the interview. And I just want to continue to bring awareness to all the options in dermatology and in healthcare. I mean, you could do this in any specialty, but my sweet spot is derm, so that's where you're gonna hear me talk about. But yeah, there's just so many ways if you love it like I do to be a part of it. And to not just relegate yourself to this one-on-one experience that you have with a patient. Even in school, some of my favorite courses were community health, population health, this idea to help like the broader community. Like I was always fascinated by those classes the most. And so now that I'm talking to you all, yeah, that is what I'm even drawing myself towards now. And so yeah. And so, yeah, as far as my own business goes, I'm really on the fence about whether I want to open it or not. Um, some days I'm like 99% I want to open it, and other days I'm like 9%. I rather would just write. But I do like continue to have take care of patients. I still like that a lot. And so I'm really just trying to figure out what that looks like so that I have the time to write and contribute to research, but also still be active in the field so that I'm abreast of what's happening. So stay tuned for that. So speaking of that and trying to manage so many things, I talked about my wellness journey a little bit. So I did good this week. I ran. I changed my schedule, my rounding schedule, and how I'm going to see patients throughout the week. So that's a good shift. I'm looking forward to. I know I talked about I changed it before. I changed it again this week. It'll start on Monday, and I think that's going to be super helpful, especially mentally, and just like not having Sunday be so stressful. And my team is excited about it too. So the holiday had a lot to do with that because I think that shifted around. It allowed us to experience a different flow. And yeah, I'm just eager to walk that out and see how it goes. And it will give me more time to write too, which is essential. And so on the wellness tip, so I've been running, I worked out, and I've been really good about when I'm walking or working out that I turn off the phone. So I've been pretty consistent about that. But I need to still do better about picking like maybe 3 or 4 times during the day where I check the phone as opposed to every time it dings, right? Because it dings a lot. And when you count up how much I've checked the dings, it's hours. And just think, what could I have done with those hours had I not checked it and been more disciplined? So I'm still working on that. Sleep has been a little better too. I'm not at 6 or 7 hours. I think I did pretty good last night. I think my weekend sleep has gotten better. So I still need to work on the week sleep. I think if I can get 6 hours of sleep consistently, I would be really happy with that. And so because my schedule changed now, I scheduled my appointment with my primary care. I tried to schedule an appointment with my pulmonologist, and for the first time, I've been seeing her for like 10 years. I think she I can't get an appointment till September. I've never had that problem before. And so hopefully I'm just hoping she renews my inhalers because usually they want to see you, and I haven't been able to see everyone like I usually see everyone 1 year out, but because I was doing all this transitioning, I hadn't been able to see everyone. So I'm just trying to catch up with all of that. So I got that appointment. I still need to schedule the eye doctor, and still looking for some other providers that I still need to find. So I'm working on that, but at least I'm getting them on the calendar. And then I think the last thing, so I had an interview yesterday with the president and founder of Nuekie, Eunice Cofie-Obeng, who is the founder of Nuekie, which is an innovative skincare line for people of color. The line's been out on market for 10 years now. She's a cosmetic chemist. She went to FAMU, which is an HBCU in Florida, and she had a professor who taught them about how to make relaxers in the lab, and it really inspired her. And so from that point on, she, what do you call it? So Nuekie is her middle name, and she, I can't think of the word, incorporated it like in college because she knew she was going to eventually have her own business. And so she has the line, and she had been spending the last 10 years, it sounds like, doing annual education for estheticians, teaching them about skin of color. And I think during the pandemic, she just decided she needed to pivot a little bit. And so she has her inaugural Nuekie Beauty Durbar coming up. I think it's Durbar. June 14th to the 15th in Hampton Roads, Virginia. So it's a wellness and beauty event for, for people of color, but anyone is welcome. And like I shared last week when I attended the DC Black Pride event, that it's so important to be in the room, right? And yes, it might be awkward, and yes, you might feel like you don't belong, but you're just not going to learn everything in the clinical setting with patients. That's what I really came to recognize last week, and really appreciate being in their safe space so that they can really talk about what they find is important, and not me who's directing the care, who might be standing above, who might be wearing the white coat and just changing the whole dynamics of that space. And so coming into the room like this allows you to engage, hear stories, learn about experiences, and get recommendations about some skincare products, because that's one of the number one questions in the comments is like, what's a good product for skin of color? And you're definitely not going to get that in school. And you might get it in your clinical practice, but here's a great opportunity for you to engage with the founder, really touch and feel the products, see how other people respond to them, so you can really give a really good recommendation about it. So really excited about that. I'm going to catch up with a friend of mine out there too, who's nearby while I'm there. So always doing some networking, business talk. And yeah, so I still haven't decided what I'm going to be marketing when I go there. But next time I come on next week, I'll have a decision, because I need to make a decision, because if I need to purchase anything or have anything made, it needs to really be in the next 24 hours. So I think that's all I have. What did we do? Oh, 30 minutes. That's perfect. I'm going to go. If you have any questions, please, you can leave them in the description. You can message me directly at the Mahogany Dermatology blog, where I did release a new article this week on the advisory board, which I talked about last week. So you can check that article out. I might release another one this weekend on my DMP journey, like the post 2-year review. Just kind of talking about what I kind of went over here, what I've been doing since those 2 years. Which, if I focus on just becoming the Derm MP, and it's like that's the only thing I focus on, it's like, oh, what have I done? Maybe you might feel like you've wasted your time, you haven't done enough. But when I wrote that article, I realized how much I really have accomplished. And even when I write these, like each week I might say like, oh, I didn't get enough done. And I know my entrepreneur friends can totally relate to this. But then when I make up like what I'm going to talk about in this video, it's like, oh, this list is too long of an update. And so it's like you have that interesting parallel of like feeling like you're not doing enough, you're not hitting the mark, and yet there's like way too much going on right now. So yeah, I'm just sharing the journey in real time. So that's what I have for now. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe, leave a comment, follow me on the blog. And yeah, just come back next week, same place. And I thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.